This podcast is part of the Game and Entertainment Network. Visit tgenetwork.net to find the latest episodes from all our shows.
Welcome back to Couch Potatoes and Happy New Year. I'm your host, Islaine, and I'm joined by my co-host, Ari.
Hello!
Around this time last year, we recorded a show where we talked about what we were looking forward to over the course of 2015, so we figured we should do the same thing, but of course now we're talking about 2016. We both have lists of games we'd like to talk about briefly that we look forward to getting our hands on, and also we'll be talking a little bit about some trends that have kind of been happening over the last couple years that we'd like to see continue. But first, let's start off with what we've actually been playing lately. So, Ari, what have you been up to?
I have actually been playing heaps. That's what having 3-day, 4-day weekends will do for you. You get to play games. Even in between having family here, all the games. It's awesome. I played more Fallout, of course, just my random adventuring around the wasteland.
Have you finished the story yet?
I haven't even started the story. I'm still I haven't done any missions but get them back to that safe area where you start.
The sanctuary, yeah.
Yeah, that's
where
they are.
The first Minuteman mission, and that's it.
Yes, and then I just started exploring everywhere.
I don't know, how many hours have you put into it?
60 now? 60, 70?
See, I only put in 40, and I already beat the main story. I mean, I was starting to get bored.
I absolutely go everywhere. I explore every one of those markers that pops up in the little map. You know, when you're traveling, how you get that little thing at the bottom? And you'll see if something's not adventured in yet. Yeah. I always go to those. I've gone through so many random places and been
I did a lot of that too. I don't know.
My map is nearly full now, I think.
Yeah, I do have kind of a big blank area towards the bottom. I've mostly cleared out the top hat, but yeah.
I went out into the wasteland as well, well past the borders of the map. And did all that kind of stuff. I've been underwater for a little bit. I've got about 10 sets of power armor now. And that's without any of the guides either. I hate those guides. I don't follow them. I just want to do my own thing. And I've still managed to find 10 of them already.
Yeah, I think I found 3 or 4. I managed to do quite a bit of exploring too, and then a lot of the just random side quests that you would run across. But then at one point I was I just want to beat the story so that way I can say I know how it ends. And then now at any point in time I can just go back and mess around, explore, do whatever, try to level to 50. But, I'm going to be back in that world anyway as soon as there's some DLC, so I figured, maybe leave a little bit of content to play with then too.
Nah, finish it all now. I think I'm level 36 or 37 or something.
I think I was 31 or 2 by the time I finished.
Yeah, I saw that on your video.
Yeah.
No, I'm having fun doing what I'm doing. I have no intention to finish it just yet.
Well, that seems to be the biggest complaint with it from everybody that I've that a lot of people that I had read or talked to that were really in love with it when it first came out. By the time they beat it, kind of flipped sides and were it's not that great. And a lot of those people were like you and said The Witcher 3 was better in general.
Well, I said that from the beginning, that it was it's kind of that, not bland, but that experience that doesn't really overwhelm you, but it's still enough that it just hooks you. You know what I mean? It's not so overbearing and overwhelming that it's going to push you away occasionally because you've just experienced so much, but it's that comfortable, warm feeling that you just like a big doona. You just wrap yourself in and keep going.
Well, the point I was getting at is that, they were all kind of flip-flopping, and that was one of the bigger issues, was that everybody was saying they didn't really care for the story. I thought the story was fine. I enjoyed it. I mean, and it also seems like there may be not necessarily multiple endings, but different ways. I'm not sure how, my ending compared to other people's, because there were obvious choices that I had to make that may or may not have affected things. I'm not sure because I would have to play through the game again.
I think people's biggest issue with the story was you didn't have the same amount of impact you could have in previous games. It's more just following a specific story rather than all the branching aspects you used to be able to get.
Yeah.
I think that was their issue with the story. Just that it didn't compare to previous games. And I agree with that. But what's there does seem fine.
Yeah. Since I didn't really like Fallout 3, like, it doesn't bother me at all. I liked the story. I'm cool with it being, even if
The
my
main
choices
story was
don't...
shit in Fallout 3. I hated that main story. But it was all like the factional stories that were really interesting, and you could like pit them against each other, and you could change sides all the time, and all these other quite interesting side stories and areas, whereas Fallout 4 is just this one giant layer of meh. Like, it's a good meh, but it's a meh.
Well, I read a couple people that have said some negative things about The Witcher as well, so I guess it just kind of comes down to personal preference. Yeah.
Yep, totally. Some people hate the combat in like The Witcher. I really enjoyed it. I think they have no idea what they're talking about. Get better, noob.
But I thought it only takes like one mouse click to like.
No, it doesn't. See, that's like in the beginning, yes, like because all the enemies are kind of the same and they attack the same pattern. But when you get later, you've got like shielded enemies that you have to kind of bash or dodge around. You've got enemies that will really swing quite hard with a really large weapon that you've got to bound past to attack them. And then you've got some long-reaching enemies. Then you've got like archers that are firing at the back from you that you've got to keep remembering and dodging. And just like a lot of the bosses as well, you really have to know their tells. But I was playing on one of the harder difficulties, so.
Okay. So what else have you been playing?
I've been playing Mini Metro. I've basically been doing the daily every single day. I just like it. It's kind of a relaxing puzzle game. I really enjoy it. I get home, I get my cup of tea, sit down with Mini Metro for like half an hour, and I'm good. I'm happy.
Yeah, I'm like that with Nuclear Throne. I don't play it every single day, but I get into little spurts where I will play it every day for a while.
Yeah, that's the same. Not every day, but, every second day kind of thing. Every other day. But no, it's really quite an enjoyable puzzle game. I've been playing Dungeon Souls, which is a new pickup from the Steam sales.
Yes.
Roguelike dungeon crawler hack and slash.
But looks similar to Nuclear Throne, which is why I was looking at buying
It has mechanics from quite a few. Like, I see elements from Nuclear Throne, obviously, with lots of enemies spawning randomly generated maps to get through, and kind of that same sort of map progression, getting increasingly harder to like the boss. But then there's like elements of, say, Binding of Isaac, where you get different sort of weapons that you can choose behind. And then I even feel like I'm playing Risk of Rain? Yeah, because like every passive thing you pick up keeps adding on to your abilities. You know what I mean?
Right. So you get
some
kind of progression.
Stronger during a course of the match. But then you've got like an RPG area, like each time you go in, you level up, you can add that to a certain part of your abilities, like better damage, defense, that kind of stuff. And then overall, there's a giant like account progression where, you can add more health, more defense, and all those kind of abilities as well. Like just an extra stat point to those. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And there's lots of different like players you can play as. And I don't know, I actually enjoy the combat, say, more than Nuclear Throne, because it's more like, it feels more tactile when you're like, blades and arrows and stuff like that.
Yeah, I figured it would be just different enough to like scratch a different itch.
It really is. I think it's the better game. I really enjoy Nuclear Throne, but I think I enjoyed this one more.
Interesting.
Yeah. But I like the fantasy stuff more, so.
Yeah, Nuclear Throne I just liked because it was, at the time I bought it,
bullet hell shooting is awesome. I agree. But it's like a different sort of, like Nuclear Throne, you're more like dodging shots, whereas this, like, you're weighing up how to attack an enemy, like going in, getting their attack, and then hitting them while their attack's like finished, kind of thing. So I've been playing Long Dark, another survival game, and this is really fun. I like it. It's like set in the Canadian wilderness, but I feel like it's got more of a focus on, say, the needs, like how cold and warm you are, how hungry and thirsty you are, that kind of stuff, rather than like this deep crafting simulator kind of thing.
Yeah, Ark kind of has that going for it too.
The deep crafting thing, yeah.
Well, no, it has a warmth thing.
In Long Dark, it's really important. Like, different days have different like temperatures. Like, sometimes I go out there and there's a blizzard going on. It's like -20. You can only stay out for like 30 minutes at a time unless you have like a torch with you warming you up. And then other times it's like only -9, so you can basically adventure around all day. So you've really got to be aware of like the different temperatures and what you're wearing kind of thing as well. So
Does that have combat or anything in it?
yes, it does.
Because I could have sworn I watched a video and it like had no combat.
Oh, but that's the thing with it. It's more about avoidance. You don't want to get into combat.
Yeah.
And if you do, you want it to be really controlled. Like you want to be able to finish that enemy really quickly, not have them actually hit you or attack you, because that takes a lot out of you. I just had my Let's Play number 3 up, and you'll see a lot of combat in that. Well, not so much combat, just me flailing at wolves attacking me. Kind of scary. And I played Apotheon Arena. This game is awesome and it's free, and I recommend it. I laughed so hard during this.
Well, I remember the game itself. It's a 2D platformer or whatever.
Yep.
How does that translate to? I mean, is it?
Well, it's just basically different maps, same sort of combat system, but then just pitting people against each other, like actual multiplayer arena kind of thing.
So it's kind of like Awesome Knots or whatever, minus the towers and all that. Just like deathmatch.
I haven't played Awesome Knots, so I don't know. No, it's just like a 2D platforming arena.
Yeah, that's what Awesome Knots is, except for it incorporates MOBA ideas, whereas I don't think this one does.
It's really fun, and I had an amazing time with it. Like, the mechanics are a bit, janky at times, not hitting how you think they're going to hit stuff, or just how you swing. It just feels really janky, even how you move. But then it just adds to, the hilarity of it with, all these different people around you flinging and throwing stuff and exploding sometimes. It's pretty awesome.
How many people in a match?
I think it's 8 maximum.
So 4-on-4?
But if you start on it can be complete deathmatch, everyone against each other, or you can have team versus team. You can actually set up maps, and run them yourself, so you can set up the variables there. So,
gotcha.
But no, it's free, and I had a lot of fun in this game, and I'm still playing it a little bit too. So, I recommend. The matchmaking can be a little bit funny, and the servers are a bit obviously weird because it's free. I wish they were better, but that's how the cookie crumbles.
Indeed.
And what you been up to, Izzy Face?
Well, I already mentioned that I beat the Fallout 4 story, so that's kind of... I wanted to be done with it because I picked up the latest Humble Bundle and was gifted a few things around Christmas time, so I had a handful of other games that I wanted to start playing, and I wanted to say that I had completed at least the main story of Fallout before I really moved on and started doing anything else. A couple of the games that I got, Evil Within, my sister got me for Christmas, and then Grim Dawn, my dad gifted me for Christmas as well. Evil Within is a survival horror. It's made by the same guy that made the original Resident Evil, so you pretty much know what to expect there, except for there's more of an emphasis on stealth, which is weird but good at the same time. I normally don't really care for stealthy games. I like having the option of, if I fuck up while stealthing, being able to kill whatever it is and not have to worry about it. In this one, because sometimes what you're trying to sneak around, sometimes it's a thing that can one-shot kill you, so there's you have to stealth, but there are other points in the game where you kind of do have the option to be able to kind of stealth around, and if you can sneak up behind an enemy, you can one-hit kill it, but if it sees you, they take a bunch of bullets, and you don't get a lot of bullets, and it's a couple of the spots that I've gotten to, you're surrounded by lots of them, and you have to get through a certain area, and they're all over, so you have to kind of pick and choose who you're going to pick off first, and hope you don't alert one, because usually alerting one alerts them all, and then you have a shit ton of guys coming at you, and you get your ass kicked.
So it's an actual stealth game.
Yes, but I'm not sure if it's going to stay that way forever. I think I've beaten the first 3 chapters, because I only started it the other day. I've put in 4 hours, I think. In the first couple chapters, it was pretty basic, just walking around, whatever. And then there was, like I said, the one chapter where there was this big monster thing, and you were trying to avoid it. And if it alerted to your presence at all, it would just charge you down and kill you. So I'm not sure if it's going to stay this way forever. It's just kind of how the story has progressed so far. Either way, it has that tension from, we've talked about it before with the original Resident Evil being good at creating that tension because there isn't a lot of action all the time. It's just like you never know, like, is there going to be something around this corner? Something going to jump out at me? Like, it's got that. But then it also has, stealth mechanics that I actually kind of like, which is unusual. But overall, it's been pretty cool. And it's a game that somehow is still normally priced at $60, but during the Steam sale it was down to like $8 or $9, so now would be the time to get it if you want to try it. And then Grim Dawn is a action RPG in the same sort of vein as like, old Diablo or even kind of like Path of Exile. It actually combines a couple of systems that make it feel like a mixture between the two. It still has more of that, grim dark sort of graphic style like Diablo 2 did or like Path of Exile does, so it's a little more on the dark and gritty side. But the combat feels a little bit more fast-paced than Path of Exile, because Path of Exile always kind of felt a little on the slower side. It didn't seem as fast as like Diablo. So this one kind of is a little bit more on the fast side. But the cool thing is, that kind of sets it apart from other ones, is that when you hit, I think you level up once, and then you get to pick a class. So initially when you start the game, you don't pick your class, you're just a whatever. You have a sword and a shield. And once you hit the second level, it prompts you to pick whichever class, and I think there's 6 or 7. And you pick that one class, and then you have a skill tree that looks pretty similar to Diablo, at least older Diablo, where you had a couple skills and you have to put a certain amount of points in to progress down the tree. But then once you hit level 10, you have the option to dual spec, or dual class, so you can actually pick any of the other classes. So there's quite a few combinations you can make there, or you can just stay pure and continue to go down to that tree. Initially, I picked a demolitionist, which is kind of like the engineer in Guild Wars 2, just like guns and like traps and things like that. And I ended up dual classing as I don't remember what the other class was, but it provided a pet and then like debuffs. And then the second character I created, I started as a soldier, which is like a warrior, and then I dual classed as an arcanist, which is like the wizard. So you have a little bit of spell usage. It's kind of like a battle mage or whatever. But yeah, so I mean that kind of makes it a little more unique because you can more fully customize your character. And then they have a bit of a skill tree that's sort of like the one in Path of Exile. Not quite as big, and it revolves around constellations. But basically you get like a starting circle, and you pick one point in. You put 1 point into any one of those particular directions, and then it opens up some of the constellations, and then each one has a certain amount of points you'd have to put into it to open it completely. Some only provide passives, but some provide passives that are a little better, almost like a separate ability, but without an active. So it's hard to explain, but like it comes with like its own leveling too. So as long as you're using that power, and because some of them will be like require that you have like a one-handed weapon equipped, then it passively gives you whatever it gives you, and then as you're using that, it levels up and gets more powerful as time goes on. So there's a little bit of depth there, but it still feels similar, but it's different enough to set itself apart. I've enjoyed it so far, and it was in early access. It technically still is, but they are officially releasing in February. But they already said that the game is complete at this point. So I would recommend checking it out.
I want to play this too. I really do. Is it as fun as, like, say, Diablo, though? Or just like a fill-in kind of thing?
I feel like it's pretty close on. It's pretty on par. And it's interesting, too, because they don't have the quests. There aren't, like, sparkle passages to follow to get to wherever it is you need to go. Like, the quests you'll get just tell you generally it's over there, and if you look on your map, you can find where that area is, but it won't tell you exactly where it is. So you have to like walk all the way over there and then find it. So it's not so much open world, but it's a little more old school in that you have to kind of figure out things on your own. So it doesn't hold your hand quite as much. But yeah, I think it's comparable to like Diablo. And it also has hardcore mode, so I mean, it's got that going for it too. I'm not sure what their end game is like though. I'm not sure if after playing through and getting to the end, I know the max level's 80, but I'm not sure. There are progressive difficulty levels, but I don't know if they're going to do anything like adventure mode, which I imagine they probably won't. It'll probably just be like the way old school Diablos were played. So once you've beaten it, you might beat it with another character or two, and then you'd probably be bored and done with it. But it's not as expensive as Diablo either, so it's got that too.
How much is it?
I think it was $25 regular price.
Oh.
But it was down to, I think, $15 during the sale. So it should still be on sale right now. But yeah, I think it's worth the money. If nothing else, it's something that you can play for a week or two and get your money's worth out of it. But yeah, that's all I've been playing this week. I mean, there was some other stuff, but we've gone long enough. So, for this week's discussion, we wanted to talk about our most anticipated titles coming in 2016. Most of these games have either already been given release dates or have a release window this year. Of course, that doesn't necessarily mean that they will come out. Delays happen, things like that. But as far as we know, these games will be appearing. There are some that we do know that won't be appearing this year, but that we still would like to, talk more about and get more information this year. So, what is a game that you have on your list that you would like to start with?
I say we talk about one we both have. How about Doom? Doom.
Well, did you manage to play the closed alpha at all?
No? What closed alpha? Oh, I got ripped off.
It happened about a month ago. I got to play it on both PC and PS4 because it was on there as well. I happened to be over at my buddy's house the day that got announced, and he was already downloading it. So I played it on there, and it ran really smoothly. It looked nice, and it has a very old school feel. It plays a lot like Quake 3 Arena. I don't know if you played that or not, but it has a very similar arcadey feel. There's no iron sights. It's just shoot from the hip, and you get rocket launchers and all their other crazy bullshit, and blow each other up. That was just the multiplayer though, and that was all the closed alpha entailed. On PC, I couldn't get it to work. Every time I started it, it would just either lock up while it was loading, or when I actually got into the game, there would be like weird artifacts and like see-through parts and walls, and just it wasn't rendering properly. So the campaign itself looks like it's going to be great from the videos that I've seen, but again, haven't seen that in action. And the alpha was just one map, so it wasn't something where it was like, oh yeah, I got to play all kinds of different shit. It was just gave you a little taste, and that was it. So you didn't miss out on a whole lot.
Still sad though. It is Doom, but like pretty and modern. That's kind of what I want. Something bloody and hilarious and just stupid, dumb fun. We need more stupid, dumb fun. So many of these like shooters these days take themselves way too seriously.
Yeah, I think that was because my friend, when we were playing it on PS4, he was like, ugh, this game isn't good. I don't like this game. Ugh, blah, blah, blah. And he was just like, everything he kept complaining about was always something that if you were to compare it to a modern shooter like Call of Duty or any other one, yeah, it's not the same. But that's because I think they deliberately went for that. We're just taking an old school game with old school ideals and modernizing it. And I think he kind of missed the point.
Which is what, say, like the old, what's the bubblegum guy? Duke Nukem should have done.
Yeah, they tried to make it into a takes itself too seriously modern shooter.
Yeah.
And it failed. And they also delayed it fucking way too long. But, yeah. So, I don't think it's going to be, a bad thing like that was. I think it's going to do fairly well. I think just based on name recognition.
If you like stupid, dumb, fun shooters, it should be good.
Yeah. And, I mean, I think that's something that's missing in the modern shooter sphere, at least unless you're playing Quake Live still, which I'm not.
I think so as well, because you look at like Destiny, ultra serious sci-fi, and then you've got all the CODs that are getting more and more serious as they go on. Yeah, we need something that goes back to dumb fun.
I mean, Battlefront kind of did that. because
No,
it's a
not
little more
really.
simple. It has more of that older school feel, but it
I would
still
say
is
that's
a little
what
too serious.
the new Star Wars Battlefront tried to do. Bring it back to just something
That's what I was talking
not
about.
so serious. Oh, I thought you were talking about the actual Battlefront series.
No, Battlefield was what you were confusing me
Ah,
with.
yes.
Anyhow, I think it did kind of capture that older feel, but it's still got a lot of the conveniences and things that are provided in modern shooters. So I think Doom will be good.
I just hope they don't go for regenerating health. Like, health pack was just like, that is Doom, you know what I mean?
It had health packs and armor that you had to pick up.
Oh, that's right. I remember that video. True.
Yeah, yeah.
Good.
Because that regenerating health. When I remember when that first concept first started popping up, I hated it, and then eventually you got used to it, and then it stopped mattering. And then when you go back to needing health, it's like, oh crap, I actually have to be careful.
It's certain games, you know what I mean? Certain games it suits, and certain games it doesn't.
Right.
So, yeah.
Doesn't look like we have any other doubles on the list at all. Okay, well the first one I have.
I wanted like XCOM 2. I do want XCOM.
Okay, well then we'll.
I
talk
really
about
enjoyed
that.
the last one, especially like Iron Man mode. But yeah, this looks to be an updated version of that with a few new really cool mechanics. I really like how they've taken it. Now that you've lost, it just changes the complete dynamic. Now that you're the one kind of stealthing around at the beginning of a mission, that's really cool.
Yeah, the whole reversed angle where we're having to try and fight for our freedom rather than. Well, I mean, I guess that's basically what we were doing before, but they've actually taken over the planet, and we're having to take it back. It is a different dynamic than they had before. The graphics look like they're going to be improved as well. I'm curious to see all the different types of weapons and units that you'll be able to use, because in the original it was, I don't want to say not varied enough, but it wasn't varied enough. By the middle of the game you basically had most of what you were going to get and knew what you could do. The first time you played it, it didn't take all the way to the end to get the best shit.
With the missions, it kept on showing you even harder stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yes, you had all that you had, but then you had to use it optimally and even better each mission. You know what I mean? Like, you basically had to get good. Get good, son. Like, that kind of stuff. Like, that was good. Like, showing you all the mechanics first and then asking you to be more strategic and,
Right. Yeah, it looks good. And that one actually has a release date in February. So
I know.
won't have to wait too long to play it. So I guess that's all that we have in common now?
I think so, yes.
Okay, well, then that other one that's coming in February that I'm super excited for is Street Fighter V. I think I talked about that one at E3 time last year, because I'm not sure if that's right when they announced it, but we were just getting some of the bigger reveals at that time. I've been a Street Fighter fan since forever. I've always preferred it to Mortal Kombat or any other fighting game. So it's just more of the same, but it looks like it'll be good. They've added some characters that weren't present in the series before, and then of course have quite a few recurring characters that everybody already knows and loves. Graphically, it looks similar to 4, but looks like it's going to be improved because 4 came out in, I think, 2009 or something, so there's a few years there of graphical updates. So hopefully it runs smooth, works great. I'm hoping that the matchmaking is good, because I know that back in the day you had to have friends come over and sit and play with you, and if you didn't know anybody, you were just playing by yourself or against the computer. So I'm hoping that the matchmaking is really good, because I don't have a lot of people coming over to my house to play video games anymore. So having a good matchmaking system will be nice. I'm just hoping that I don't find out that I can't play Street Fighter anymore or something, because that would make me sad. What else? What do you got?
How about The Division? Dun, dun, dun. Tom Clancy's The Division. Multiplayer shooter environment. Looks awesome. I'm still really excited about this. There was some leak footage not long ago from an alpha, internal alpha. And people complain about, oh, look at the graphics downgrade, blah, 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 like they do, like freaking idiots. But like the gameplay still looks really fun. You have like a lot of classes to choose from, different ways of encountering certain missions, like progressing your character, and then that whole like PvP area as well. And it's got inbuilt like voice as well. So yeah, this game looks really, really fun.
Yeah, the first time you mentioned it, I was like, meh. I wrote it off instantaneously because I don't like Tom Clancy games. There hasn't been one I've played that I was like, ooh, this is awesome. Like, I just have never.
Was it Rainbow Six?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I didn't like it. And I've seen the new one in action, Siege or whatever. It looks okay, but it's not like, genre defining or anything. But I don't know. This game, because of the fact that it's so much different, might actually be interesting enough to play.
I just like how like the whole shared world ideology is slowly improving. You know what I mean? Like you had Destiny, which tried it but didn't really succeed, I don't think. And then games are slowly trying to bring people together in a more like open world environment, but not like MMO like, just like just like a shared world kind of stuff.
I mean, it is MMO like, but it's on a smaller scale. And
yeah.
I think people are starting to realize or companies are starting to realize that that's the way to go, rather than every company jumping out there trying to make the next big MMO that takes, years and years to develop, millions of dollars. They're all saying, hey, we can make a game that's kind of like other games people already really love and introduce some of those elements. And, I mean, Destiny, even if I've never played it and don't really think it looks all that great, doesn't mean that there aren't a bunch of people out there that have played it and liked it. So, it's a natural progression. They're just going to keep trying to iterate on those types of ideas. I think it's the progression, like,
every time we played one of these big single-player games, we've always thought, hey, this would be cool to play with some of my friends, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And that's what these are doing now. And that's cool.
And that's what we said with Fallout. Like, if we could just have it where it's co-op and it's just your one buddy that follows you around, that's better than playing single-player. But it's also, in a way, better than having it be an MMO, because as soon as they translate any of these worlds into MMOs, it's like they lose something in the translation.
Yeah.
So hopefully, I would like to see more of those types of games come out, definitely. And, it may not be the one that does it, but eventually somebody's going to get it right, and then you're going to have that other flash in the pan Blizzard experience, type thing happen where it's the most popular game ever. It's going to happen. You just don't know when.
It's gonna happen.
Oh, we do have another double. You just didn't write it down.
What?
No Man's Sky.
Who knows if that's going to come out this year?
It's set to release in June.
Really?
On PS4 and PC at the same time.
Well, if it does, it does. I think everyone's talked too much about it already, so...
Yeah, I don't have anything to add, but it is definitely, if it comes out this year...
It's still what it is.
Okay, I guess we don't have a lot of commentary there, but it's still something that we both want. Either way. Well, that takes another one off my list, so you go.
How about Horizons? That new futuristic, look kind of like Far Cry-ish, where awesome lady defeating giant robot dinosaurs. That's like my two favorite things, dinosaurs and mechas. Like, that's the amalgamation of awesome for me. Robot dinosaurs. There you go.
Yeah, that one's supposed to have some pseudo RPG elements too. I think that's what makes it more interesting. If it was just a regular shooter or another like Far Cry type game, I don't think it would be as interesting.
Well, that's what it looks like, and that's what it feels like. It feels like a Far Cry game, but with a different kind of skin, and not the whole like collect 10 towers kind of gameplay.
Yeah, I was saying if they leaned more towards it being more like a Bethesda game. Open world, having the RPG elements, but then also having crazy mechanical dinosaurs. Like, that would be awesome. I'm kind of waiting on that one to see more, or actually get to try it or see some, watch some videos. Because
no, I don't care. Robot dinosaurs, I'm sold. Once you say robot dinosaurs, I'm sold. That's it. There's no other choice for me.
Fair enough.
That's like pre-order material. Just like have like feature list robot dinosaurs day one. I'm a sucker.
I guess so.
Yeah, it just looks fun, and I don't know, it's just me, but it's nice having more like female leads in games. Like, I want that. I want more of it. Like, I don't mind playing the dumb man shoot all the time, but like, I want like a dumb lady shoot occasionally.
Yeah, I could care less if it's a man or a woman as long as the game's good.
Yeah, because you get like tons of guy characters.
I still could care less if there was a bunch of female ones.
Um,
I enjoyed Tomb Raider just like everybody else.
Izzy face.
Whatever.
Horizons. Boop, boop. Okay, your turn.
Let's see. Uncharted 4. It's supposed to come out in April. I got to play the multiplayer beta last month, or maybe it was around Thanksgiving, at my buddy's house. It is a lot like every other game in the series, but it just feels tuned up enough. They changed enough. They took away some of the bits that annoyed me in Uncharted 3's multiplayer, so it feels a little bit more like Uncharted 2's multiplayer, but then they added in some new stuff like a grappling hook and some other things, so it's different enough that it looks like it'll be interesting. And Uncharted multiplayer was some of my favorite multiplayer over the last few years, so I'm looking forward to that. But otherwise, don't have much else to say. Talked about it before.
I just enjoy watching it played.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see how cinematic the new one is, because they kind of...
But that's right, the new Nathan Drake looks like a dude bro douche. Why'd they have to change him?
I don't know.
He was awesome and cute before, and now he's a dude
now.
bro douche.
He's
Sorry?
old. He's old now.
No, but they changed his neck and his face and his body, and he just looks like a retired football player, a meathead. Fucked up.
Well, as long as he maintains the same personality, it'll be alright.
No, it won't.
Yeah.
It's not cute anymore.
Well, isn't that the pot calling the kettle black?
Hey, I'm allowed some cute guys to stare
more
at.
female leads, but all the guys need to be cute.
Yes! Hey, he was cute. Don't mess with the cute.
Okay, what do you got next?
How about some Mass Effect Andromeda?
Okay, that's another one I have on my list.
Is it? Where? Oh yeah, you do have it. There you go. Q4. So I don't think we'll actually see it this year.
They're saying December, but yeah,
we
not
won't
sure
see it
either.
this year. We haven't seen enough video and information of it already for it to be released in a year.
Yeah, unless they kept it under wraps like Fallout 4 was, because Fallout 4 it was like we heard nothing, knew nothing, and then they announced it, and 6 months later it was out. So it could theoretically come out, but I think we would have seen more of it by now, considering all the writing and voice acting and shit that goes into BioWare games.
BioWare itself usually, tells you this kind of stuff well in advance as well, and, leads up to it.
True. Yeah, I mean, it's likely that it won't show up, but it might. If it does, cool. If it doesn't, well, it'll be on this list next year.
I really enjoyed the Mass Effect series. I only played it, what was it, a year ago? Maybe a year and a half ago. But no, I really enjoyed the series. I enjoyed the universe and the laws and the characters, so...
Well, and this one will be interesting, too, because it's not going to be about Shepard or any of the characters we already know. It's supposed to take place...
The world itself. And I think that's even more interesting, because, Shep was kind of cool, but the world was more interesting, and it was, exploring that kept you playing. The different worlds, different, races and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, no, this is going to be awesome.
Yeah, they have the opportunity to flesh out a different part of the universe. And it's also supposed to happen in a timeline future tense, so they can do whatever they want and not have to... I mean, I'm sure there'll be some sort of mention of, Shepard, or at least other portions of, the universe as we know it. I'm sure they'll throw some, lore bits in there, but otherwise it's supposed to, take place completely independent, so we can be completely surprised. Let's see, what's next? Dark Souls 3. Even though I haven't played Dark Souls 2. And I haven't finished Dark Souls 1. But that doesn't matter. I'm sure it's still going to be good. It looks a lot more like they took some of the lessons from Bloodborne, in that the combat looks a little bit more fluid, a little more faster paced. And from watching Bloodborne, I can tell that it's still the same engine, same ideas, same sort of mechanics, but it is a little bit faster paced and a little more intense as far as the ways you can, dodge around things and different weapons that you can use. So I think it'll be good, but considering that it's one of those to be announced titles, they're saying it's probably going to come out this year, but it might not, so might have a ways to go. But I hope to play through the first one and the second one before it comes out, so that I'm...
I still haven't finished the first one either. I even bought a controller for it. I didn't go back. God damn it.
Yeah, I only started it and then never finished it, so... my problem was that I just finished Demon Souls and then started trying to play it. And playing 2 of them in a row like that, there was just... I had already had my... Yeah, I had my fill of punishment for a while, so I needed to take a break. But it's getting to that point where I need to go back and finish it.
It is exactly that. It's punishment, but it's good punishment.
Yes, indeed. So what's next for you?
How about some Deus Ex? Mankind Divided. Deus Ex?
Yeah. Meh.
See, I don't know why I say DOS, but Deus Ex.
I knew what you meant.
Like in Spanish, Deus Ex. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed the last one, so I'm looking forward to more of it. And this guy is hot too, so...
Yes, we know.
Cybernetic guys are awesome.
I don't know. I liked the first one, or the last one, to a certain point, but it was like I got like halfway through the game, I was just like, I just couldn't bring myself to finish it. I like the world, I like the lore, like the look of it. Everything was cool. It was just there was parts of it I didn't...
What they failed with in the last one is the further you got along, the more constricted the missions became. Like in the beginning, it gave you a lot of options about how you could, tackle missions, how you could go about them, strength or stealth or all those other great options. But the longer it went on, the harder that became, and that was an issue with it. I hope Mankind Divided really learns from this and through the entirety of the game gives players options about how they actually want to complete missions, Yeah. That would be good.
Yeah, I kind of need that, because that's that thing I was saying earlier. Like, most stealth games, they say you have to be stealthy, and if you don't have that option of being able to tackle a problem in different ways, it kind of annoys me.
Yeah. And I don't know, I kind of want it less, like, the last one was more fractured, the maps. I want like a larger overworld, like open world map kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, like that game would be so suited to
open world.
An open world. Having it feel more like Fallout, where you can just wander around a whole big ass area. Like, that would make it a lot better, I think.
That would
especially because you already have like hacking skills and...
I forgot about the other game that might be coming out next year, Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that too.
That's gonna be awesome. That's the one game I'm really, 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 really looking forward to. Actually, that's like number 1 on my list. Cyberpunk 2077.
I need to play The Witcher.
The Witcher was awesome, but then those same people making a Cyberpunk universe and a Cyberpunk game.
See, I need to play The Witcher 3 first before I can be that excited. Because if I play The Witcher 3 and I don't like it, then I'm probably not going to be as excited for that.
Yeah, but it'll probably be different combat because it'll be shooty shoots.
True, but between...
But it's Cyberpunk. I played this in pen and paper. Yes, I'm nerdy. That nerdy. This is going to be amazing.
Well, but like that's like comparing Skyrim and Fallout, or Elder Scrolls and Fallout. Like, I prefer Elder Scrolls over Fallout, so it could end up being the same sort of deal, where I would like The Witcher better than that. I don't know.
I will like Cyberpunk more than anything else in the whole wide world, so it's decided. If that comes out next year, that's my game of the year.
That's a bold prediction.
Yep. You heard it here first. Game of the year 2016, Cyberpunk 2077.
Or biggest flop of 2016. We'll see.
Shut your face. And there's going to be like hot cyberized dudes. Awesome.
I'm offended right now. I'm offended by that. Another one for me is one that already... I mean, it's not even really a new game, but they're bringing Final Fantasy IX to PC finally. And I think it's like one of the last ones, because I'm pretty sure most of them are already on there. I owned it on PS1 back when it came out, but didn't get to finish playing it because I was in a playthrough of it, and my PlayStation got stolen, along with the games and whatnot, so... yeah, I never finished it. Never went back, bought it. I thought about buying it a couple times on the PlayStation Store because you can get it as one of the classics to download, but never did. And having it come to PC just means that I can pick it up there. It's not exactly an HD update, but kind of is. I guess they're making it to where it'll be higher resolutions, and they redid some cutscenes and stuff, but otherwise the game itself is pretty much intact. It's a game that I never finished. I'd like to finish. I remember enjoying it, so that's supposed to be out sometime this year. I'm assuming it'll be probably earlier than later, because it's not really anything except for a port. So, what's next for you?
How about... I'll say Camelot Unchained now.
Has that actually got a release date for this year?
No, it was supposedly meant to release like last year, but they pushed it back to this year. And I'm guessing it's going to be a 2017 release anyway. But I think we're actually going to get a far more playable beta this year, near the end of the year.
That's what I'm hoping for from Crowfall.
So, yeah, I'm going to put that on the list anyway because I'll probably be playing it and a lot of it. So, awesome.
Word.
Yeah, PvP, brah. Yeah, it's just like I want a nice PvP world to like really get involved with, you know?
I just hope that they learn their lessons, because now that it's been out or been talked about more over the last year or so. Because I remember when we first talked about it, I knew basically nothing about it. But knowing now that it's from the same guys that made Warhammer and what was the other one? Dark Age of Camelot. I never played Dark Age of Camelot, but
Either.
I did play Warhammer. And I did enjoy parts of it, but then there were parts of it I didn't enjoy. I just hope that they take the lessons learned from those past two games and figure out a way to make it enjoyable for modern players, I guess you could say. But again, I haven't followed it nearly as close as you or other people, so don't have really much else to say. If it ends up being pretty good, then I might try it. I know I've kind of put my eggs in the Crowfall basket, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't be open to trying another one.
See, like Crowfall seems more like a PvP arena, but with long-term progression. Camelot Unchained is more like the virtual world PvP.
Yeah, they don't have the refreshing or starting over campaigns. And
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Somehow, I think Crowfall is going to figure out a way to work that into the lore where
I'm not
it makes
dissing
sense.
Crowfall because of that at all. Like, that will get its own player base because of that. Like, you know, the whole virtual world long-term, you know, eking out an existence thing isn't for everybody. Like, sometimes you get really, really, you know, when everyone's ganging up on you and you get kind of depressed and sad about you and you can't make any progress and all that kind of stuff. That makes the game really hard. Crowfall has kind of avoided that. And the short-term, you know, PvP will work well for those who want, you know, more short-term rewards and indicators of that progression. See, that's the thing. I think, like, Crowfall is focused on the short-term goals and Camelot is, like, the long-term goals. Each obviously have their own, like, Crowfall obviously has long-term as well, and Camelot Unchained has short-term, but that's, like, their main focuses, I think.
I think they're both tackling a similar problem in different ways.
Yeah, exactly.
They're trying to figure out a way to make an MMO that doesn't necessarily revolve around the dev-made content. It more revolves around player-made content.
And also avoids the same
endgame and grinds and treadmills.
Not just endgame grind, but the whole, like, factional conflict issues come up, you know, where one side usually gets a lot more powerful because of it.
And everybody just wants to play. That's, I think, where Crowfall has come up with a good idea, is because
because they have different maps and worlds as well. So even if one person
they start over. So not one faction will be overpowered every single time, type of thing.
Yep, hopefully.
Yeah, striking that balance is tough.
It is.
Let's see what's next. Another one that I think, I don't remember if I mentioned it here on the show before or not, but okay, so we talked about PT a few times, right? And that was the teaser thing from Kojima that was supposed to tie into Silent Hills. And then, of course, the whole thing happened where he left Konami altogether and has started his own production company, and we have no idea what the fuck he's working on now. So that whole project basically just seems scrapped. Well, there were fans of PT who made their own version of a similar type game where it's, you know, somebody walking into a house and there's a lot of creepy shit that goes on. The demo is very similar, and they're actually, I guess they kickstarted it and were successful and are actually creating a full-fledged game based off of that little demo thing that they made, and it's called Allison Road. And just the video, I made a post about this same sort of topic recently, so there's a video on my site you can watch, and it looks creepy. It's one of those really psychologically scary games and looks interesting. It's still kind of to be announced, but they were saying that it would probably come out this year. I'm hoping that it does. It looks really cool.
Okay, next one for me is Overwatch.
Ew.
I know, I need a good multiplayer shooter, and that looks to be it.
Did you play it?
I haven't played it yet. No.
I played it.
It just looks like a very polished shooter.
Not impressive. Okay, well, remember that game that we got into earlier in the year, but it's under NDA and we can't talk about it?
Yeah.
It was
something.
Yeah. That one was kind of clunky and didn't feel right, but it still had elements in it that I felt worked better than Overwatch. So I don't know. But those aren't the only two. There's Paladins and
Paladins looks dumb.
There's another one from Epic Games. I can't remember the name of it right now. There's several of them that are all trying to bank on that whole MOBA shooter thing. So
TF2. That seems to be the new craze, doesn't it? Make a new TF2. It's gone from MMOs to MOBAs and now TF2.
Yes. So, I mean, anything that's hot tends to be copied.
Hot that's like hot? Copied like it's hot?
Yes. That is exactly what is happening now. So, I don't know. I can't say that I'm excited about that at all. I thought I was going to be. I mean, it really looked good, but it was kind of the same problem with HOTS. Like, HOTS looked great, and then I played it and was like, ugh. So.
Yeah, but I kind of liked HOTS, so.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, I'm not saying that people won't like it and there won't be a player base. I'm just saying that I think it was crappy.
Yep, cool. And you're wrong. You know you're wrong. It's already proven that you're wrong.
When? Never.
Hey, your turn. What else you got?
Divinity of Original Sin 2. Got kickstarted, just like the first one did. I liked the first one. I haven't beaten it. I want to beat it. I'll probably beat it before the new one comes out.
Doesn't it have multiplayer?
The original was co-op, yeah. I don't know if it works online, but if it does, we should just...
Pretty sure it does. We should, because I actually never finished it either.
I only played for 4 hours, so I didn't get very far at
same.
all. I had one initial playthrough or sitting, and that was it. And I was like, man, I'll come back to this because I was in the middle of something else. And yeah, that's how we get backlogs. Yay. But yeah, I'm assuming the second will be multiplayer as well, or co-op or whatever. It'll probably follow similar storyline. Maybe it'll be just the same world and different characters. I'm not exactly sure, but looks to be more of the same, and that should be good. What else you got?
I know I didn't really like the first one that much, but I probably didn't get far enough in it to really make a proper decision.
Problem with it is that it took a lot of old school principles. Like if you try and go back and play Baldur's Gate now, it feels weird because it doesn't hold your hand at all, and you have to figure shit out for yourself. And we kind of have all forgotten how to do that because every game has become so mind-numbingly hold your hand easy.
No, I'm fine with that. It just didn't appeal to me.
Oh. Well, then how the fuck are we going to play through it?
I don't know. We'll work it out. It's always more fun together anyway, so.
True. Okay, what do you got next?
I will say Mirror's Edge Catalyst.
Okay.
The next Mirror's Edge game.
Yes, I know what it is.
I know, just kind of that whole, runner type game, but in a pretty 3D environment. And it looks really cool.
The new one's supposed to add some stuff to it that might make it a little more interesting, but the first one was boring. All you did was run around and jump and parkour.
I like that, because, I don't know, I like platformers anyway, you don't. So...
Yeah.
I really like platformers. Yeah. I don't know, it just looks to be a really cool game. I like platformers. I enjoy them. And the whole, what's it called where people bounce on rooftops?
Parkour?
Yeah, that stuff. The whole parkour thing. That's pretty cool, too.
It's an interesting mechanic. And, I mean, playing the first one a little bit, it did have a novelty, but it was just... I didn't see enough there to be wanting to actually play through the whole game. But like I said, the second one, I read somewhere that they're adding a few new mechanics, and maybe not necessarily a combat like you would think of traditionally, but having some sort of combat mechanic. Whereas in the first one, it was mostly just
where
like
you're
run and
running
dodge.
fast enough that you can hit into people
Something.
and knock them over or knock them out, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it seems like it has a lot of like skill there and comboing abilities and buttons together that would be pretty fun to play, you know? Like having that perfect run feeling. Oh, you don't like platformers, so you don't really know that. I don't just
I
like when you're playing a
platformers,
platformer and a
but,
really good platformer, you want to have the perfect run, like bounce and hit and jump on everything absolutely perfectly the entire time, and you aim for that. Like it's a really like engaging, like addictive, like way of playing.
Fair enough.
You're so wrong. You're next.
I've only got one more on this part of my list. I actually had never even heard of it. Somehow, I guess it got announced at E3, but I overlooked it completely. It's another Walking Dead game made by Overkill, who made fuck, I can't think of what it's called right now. It was on Killzone. That's it. They made Killzone, and I never really played Killzone much, so I don't really have anything to say about that. But when I was making this list, I was verifying, dates when things were supposed to come out and things like that, and I ran across that game and started checking it out. And it's based on the comic books, not the TV show, so it'll be more authentic to the source material, I guess you could say. But it looks a lot like The Last of Us. It looked like third-person shooter, but like survival, like having to stealth around and be sneaky, but then also having guns and having gunplay, cover shooter stuff. Like, looks like a mash of all types of different stuff that I like. So I think it'll be a good game, but I have no idea because it's not out yet. And you never know. The zombie games can go one way or the other.
They do. Either mind-numbingly boring or grindy, or like actually fun.
Yeah. So I'm hoping they strike a good balance between storytelling and the
I have to look this up. I haven't actually seen it at all.
There's a video on that post that I posted, but it only has a small snippet of gameplay, so you can't get a really great impression of it, but it still sounds interesting enough. And I like the source material. I watched the Walking Dead show. I've played most of the games that have come out, and it's pretty good, but I'm glad that it's based on the comics and not the show, because the comics, I don't know, are a little bit better, in my opinion. But yeah, it looks pretty cool. I'm hoping it's like Last of Us, because I loved Last of Us. So yeah, like I said, that's the last I have there.
Alright, I'll go through mine quickly then. How about For Honor?
I haven't heard
about. Oh, you're hopeless. Like, the Dynasty Warriors kind of games?
Yes.
It looks to be mixing that with Chivalry.
So it's first person?
First person medieval battling, multiplayer, giant swathes of enemies you get through, and then obviously facing off against other players in between those crowds and stuff. The combat looks excellent, like actually aiming and directional attacks and defenses. And I don't know, this game looks amazing. I really, really want to play this game.
Is that a AAA or an indie?
AAA, I'm pretty sure.
You don't know who makes it?
I have no idea. The video played at the big, what was it, Gamescom or PAX? One of those, and it just blew me away. It just, like, it's basically it feels like it's putting you in the middle of, an actual medieval war kind of feeling. And you're one of the elite soldiers, but then you also have to tackle, your enemy's elite soldiers, which are people as well. And you have other people on your team too, so that just looks like a cool game.
So kind of like a PvP arena, but with a shit ton of bots in between is like the fodder?
Yeah, I guess so.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out.
Well, like Dynasty Warriors and Chivalry, that's what it is. It's that mix. It's a good mix. Let's see, and I've got a heap of indies as well, like Hyperlight Drifter didn't come out this year, which it should have, or last year I should say. Firewatch still hasn't come out.
That one looks kind of interesting. I remember seeing that. That was wasn't that the one where you were like, there was like
Forestry Ranger.
Yeah, there you go. That's the word.
That was
like a survival game too, though, wasn't it?
More adventure.
Okay.
I don't think you're really surviving anything. You're just like picking up and using items effectively. And then you've got Jenny Leclerc, which is the whole like adventure detective game kind of thing. You know,
Sounds like Carmen Sandiego.
it does look like that. It really does. I'm really interested in this. It looks pretty cool. And the other one that I'm out of like this year's list I picked, and it was a huge list of indies I'm looking forward to. EITR. I don't know how to actually pronounce that.
I just put that one on my, ITER, I guess, something like that. I just put that one on my wish list too. It popped up in my Steam queue, and it looks pretty cool.
It does look pretty cool. Just like RPG, but incredibly difficult Souls-like combat.
But with pixels.
Yeah, pixels. I like pixel games.
Me too. Was that it?
Yep. Oh, I have like heaps more I can list out, but
Yeah.
That's it for now. I have so many I actually have more indies I'm looking forward to than like AAA games.
That's usually how it is.
Yeah.
All the ones that I picked were pretty much AAA, except for a couple. But that was just because they were the big titles that I know everybody's going to know about. Whereas indies can sometimes be totally under people's radars. Although that doesn't mean that there aren't going to be some good ones. Definitely. I have just a couple other ones to touch on that I'm hoping for more information this year because it's pretty much assured that these titles won't release. Well, I guess you had one too in Camelot Unchained, but we already talked about that. And because I kind of threw in some Crowfall stuff, yeah, that's one of the ones. Just hoping that maybe by the end of the year we'll have like a beta because as a backer, I didn't pay for one of the ridiculous, high-priced tiers, so I don't have alpha access. I don't get in until the beta. So I'm hoping that there's maybe beta by the end portion of next year, so that way I can try it out. But I'm sure there'll be lots of, dev blogs and things like that between now and then. And they just released that whole Crows and Vessels system that sounds like it's a very interesting way of changing the way character progression works. Although it does kind of seem similar to like the jobs in Final Fantasy, having like different job classes or whatever. But it's an actual item, so you have to actually have the item on your person to be that class, per se. So that's kind of an interesting system. But yeah, I'm hoping for a lot more information on that one as the year goes on. Then there's a couple other ones, just the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Just want to see more information about that. They actually put out a second video after the first announcement one that was basically just a CGI trailer. This one actually showed some combat and in-game stuff, and it looks fantastic. I'm just hoping that it isn't quite so grindy as the game was initially. Hoping that they figure out a way to make it feel a little more, accessible and more modern. And then same goes for Resident Evil 2. They announced a remake sometime
That was my favorite as well.
I really liked the first one, but the second one just took everything the first one did and did it better. And I think from there, they've gone up and down. Some people like 3, some didn't. Some like 4, some didn't. Same with 5, same with 6. Same with all the spin-offs. There's always been, everybody knows Resident Evil, everybody likes Resident Evil, but everyone kind of just likes some of them. Like everybody's got their couple that they like and some that they didn't like. So with number 2 being one of the most well received, they finally announced that they're remaking it, and it's going to be more like the Resident Evil 1 remake that we got last year or the year before, that was completely redone from the ground up. So it's not just an HD update where they change the resolution. It's actually a full pass remake. So hopefully it'll be good. And then the last one is Indivisible, which I think I brought that up once or twice before, but it's from the guys who made Skullgirls, which was that 2D fighting game with a bunch of interesting female characters. And this one is an RPG that they're working on. It got kickstarted or...
Do you mean Skullgirls?
That's what I said.
I thought you said Schoolgirls.
Skullgirls.
Okay. I thought you said Schoolgirls. Yep.
Well, yeah, those guys. And so it has that same sort of hand-drawn art work to it, but it's an RPG, but it mixes in platforming too, and then also fighting game mechanics. It's a weird mashup, but it somehow works. And when they were doing their Indiegogo campaign, and I think it's still there, you could actually download the prototype, which was just, a little way, I think it was like an hour or so worth of gameplay. And you see just your one character, and you're running around, and it's like a platformer, and there's enemies, and you can hit them and whatever, but if you run into an enemy, then it kind of like doesn't go to like a separate screen, but it kind of like does like a flash thing, and then your other characters that are in your party all pop out, and then the enemy that you saw that was just one, it may have actually been like a whole encounter of enemies, and they all pop out, and then it's turn-based active time battle, kind of like Final Fantasy, but as each one of your characters do different things, they have like a rage bar kind of thing, like Street Fighter, so when it fills up all the way, they can do like a super move. So it kind of added in that whole fighting game mechanic. It's a weird combination, but it was pretty cool. So I'm hoping that they said that they're not releasing until like 2018 or something because development just started. But it would be nice to see more out of that, see what other characters and how the story is going to change, how big the world's going to be, various information about it would be cool. Are there any other ones that you're looking forward to that aren't releasing this year, but you might want to learn more about?
No. I don't look that far ahead.
No?
If the game's going to release this year, then it's good, but I don't look like a few years ahead. I guess I do like sometimes like Camelot Unchained, like MMOs, but yeah,
well, when you know a game's in development and there's been a lot of hype for it, it's hard to avoid like wanting to know more. At least for me.
Yep.
So, what about trends as our final closing topic? What are some trends that you would like to see continue? Like stuff that's not necessarily, like, for example, a recent trend is like the Overwatch and all those types of games being that whole, next wave of what's the in thing to make.
From what I saw of like the indie games coming out, it's the year of the Souls-like.
Think so?
Yep, definitely. Because you have Death's Gambit from Adult Swim. That looks, the 2D pixel-based Souls-like game. Hard enemies, watching attacks, that kind of stuff, which looks really good. And the Adult Swim people actually do make pretty damn good games. So that could be a really good game as well. You have Necropolis, which is another Souls-like, but this time in like sort of a polygonal 3D environment. That looks pretty cool as well. Necropolis. And I don't know, I just think because we've got Dark Souls 3 coming out, and I think there will be a few more games that come out that just try and really push forward difficulty in combat and choices and really analyzing enemies and how you're going to attack and combat and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I think that's what it is. The way I see it, like people, the more you play with games and the more you're in gaming, the better you get at it. Like that's just a given, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And with a huge influx in gaming and the population boom of people interested in games, not just like on computer, but consoles and mobile. And yes, mobiles have gotten a lot better with games as well. I think we're going to see a lot more that actually do start more challenging people. So, yeah.
Yeah, I would like to see a trend towards more challenge than hand-holding, definitely. I have a couple, just like niche MMOs like Crowfall, Camelot Unchained, the smaller budget.
You have
ones.
What's that? Richard Garriott's one, Shroud of Avatar, as well. That's going to be coming out. Yeah. At least a huge version this year. You actually have quite a few niche.
Project Gorgon. They've been worked on for a while.
I hope their population sorts itself out, and then you've got another sci-fi one that was coming as well. I've forgotten its name now, but no, there's a few.
Yeah, and that's a trend I would like to see continue, just because the AAA MMOs that have come out in the last 10 years haven't been that great. They always rely on a known IP, and then they take that IP and destroy it, and then turn it into something else, and it's nothing like why the IP itself became popular in the first place. Or it's something completely original, IP-wise, but completely copies all of its mechanics and fundamental systems from games that were previously established, and it's just the same old thing over and over again. Niche MMOs are all trying something new. I mean, if you look, Star Citizen, I think, is the one you were thinking of. Star Citizen and Shroud of the Avatar, Camelot Unchained, Crowfall, they're all different in their own little way, and they're all trying to do different things, and we're only going to see progress or change or improvement on the genre itself if people are willing to take these risks and do different things. So, but that's a chord that we've harped on quite a bit. I would also like to see more varied roguelikes, just because I love the genre, and
We're going to see a lot more. Don't worry about that.
I'm not worried about it. I just want that to keep
Oh,
rolling.
you should probably keep an eye on Diesel Stormers. It's actually going to be online co-op, bullet hell. So, yeah, like you don't get many like online co-op bullet hell games. You get a lot of like, closed LAN system ones, or like split screen on the same screens on the same computer co-ops. But you don't get like online co-op bullet hells.
Yeah, the indie market has seemingly kind of started itself with just a lot of single player stuff, which I'm cool with. But yeah, a lot of those games would be fun with co-op.
Like, how much more fun would Nuclear Storm be if I could pop in your match and shoot around with you?
Yeah, I mean, if nothing else, the game can be fun by itself, but that's just an added benefit.
And you have Enter the Gungeon. It's another Nuclear Storm one. Chasm. Mm-hmm. What else is there? I don't know, there's just a lot coming out. Don't worry about that. Oh, and Catacomb Kids.
Yep. So I mean I didn't expect that trend to stop, but that's one that I definitely want to see continue. I'd also like to see more open world RPGs done right, a la Fallout or Witcher, which apparently is good, but I don't know.
But we also had like Metal Gear 5. I didn't actually play it, but apparently it was a really good open world game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, well, and people rave about Far Cry, even though I don't play that. And people rave about Assassin's Creed as well. I don't play that either.
The new one was apparently really good. And I actually, watching some of the gameplay and watching some Let's Plays, I actually want to buy it now. It just seems like...
Syndicate?
Yeah, it just seems like they've done the map, the world, and the mission system right. And just a lot of really varied open world missions, you know what I mean? Not the same.
I think they did... good things with Grand Theft Auto as well, with the 5th one, and having that whole online world, making it a little bit more open, more multiplayer, and having a lot more options, and then also it coming out on Steam, and then having this whole Steam workshop, so you have mods and all kinds of shit that people can play with.
I want to see modding take a resurgence as well. We don't see enough of it.
Yeah.
Like some companies and games don't like people modding their games, which is really stupid. It adds so much more replayability.
Well, I think that works mostly with like RPGs or open world games. I don't think it works quite as well with some games titles, but yeah.
Or just adding like a mission editor type thing. That could be cool too.
They do have a lot of games that have that, but there's a lot of games out there that don't. So yeah. It would be nice to have some more of that stuff. And then another trend that's kind of been happening for a few years is remakes of classics that have been redone. Now, I'm
not just
really
like a remake, but an absolute overhaul remake. Like that's what we've been seeing, and that's good. That's not just like recoding it and putting it on the HD stupid updates. It's like actually really trying to improve these games. Like sometimes the improvements go a bit too far. You know what I mean? But they're trying.
Yeah, I mean, like in the case of like Final Fantasy VII or like the Resident Evil 2 remakes, them taking a game and they're basically just taking the script and then just rewriting or redoing the code around it. So I mean, as long as it's still got the same spirit and it's still basically the same game, but it has updated graphics and whatnot, I like that. The whole HD update of a game that came out last year, that shit needs to stop. So it's kind of a dual-edged thing because I like remakes of old games, but they need to be old enough. Games that are 20 years old that get remade now are obviously going to look ridiculously different because it's no longer pixel graphics or it's not really shitty 3D. It's really well done graphics in comparison. So in that case, it's great. But if it's a game that came out 2 years ago and you're calling it an update, it's like, really? You're just money grabbing at that point. Anything else?
And from what I saw, next year's going to be like the year of the sci-fi. That's not something I'm particularly interested in, but they look like there's going to be a ton of like sci-fi games coming out, and just a continuation of sci-fi games as well.
Yeah, I think that's a fairly.
It just seemed like sci-fi games weren't really being made for a long time there, and now we've just had this huge resurgence in it.
Yeah, well, yeah, games like No Man's Sky and Elite Dangerous and Star Citizen. Eve is still getting updates. And then all those little indies like Rebel Galaxy and Lovers in a Dangerous Space Time, and yeah, there's been a lot. There has been kind of a resurgence of sci-fi games. I like them, but then I don't like them. So it's like hit or miss for me. I'm usually more on the fantasy side of things.
I'm entirely the same, but yeah.
But some of them come out that just look too good to pass up, like No Man's Sky. Like, oh my god.
My hype meter for No Man's Sky is like seriously dissipated over the year.
Well, yeah, but when it comes out, you'll be right back there.
Oh, I know I'll be right there, but I'm just saying like right now.
So that is what we're looking forward to the most in 2016. If you guys have anything that we missed, think that we're stupid, or
think that
agree with
wrong
everything,
like usual.
That never happens. Never happens. But yeah, you can let us know in the comments or on Twitter, etc. You know what to do. Let us know what you think. And we'll see you again. We're going to be back on a more regular schedule again now that the holidays are over, so we will see you again next week.
See ya!
Hey folks, I'm Belgast of the AgroChat podcast. What is our podcast, you ask? Well, the idea is really simple. Get a bunch of friends together, hit record, and see what happens. If that sounds interesting to you, you should totally check us out. We're a proud member of the Gaming and Entertainment Network at tgenetwork.net.
That does it for this week's edition of Couch Potatoes. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope that you'll continue to join us. Couch Potatoes can be found on Twitter at Couch Potatoes, and on Anook at anook.com/blog/couch-potatoes. Music credits, other places you can find us, and pertinent links discussed on the show can be found in the show notes. Thanks for listening. We're going to get back to gaming now, so we'll see you next week.